So, what is Jobber and what exactly does it do? You and I are about to take a comprehensive tour of the entire Jobber software stack so we can answer exactly that question. And when we're done, you'll walk away with the tools and the knowledge that you need to confidently decide, not guess, but to confidently decide whether or not Jobber is the right software stack to run your home service business. Along the way, I'm going to show you everything that I use and everything that I don't. Now, while we're going through this, I want you to keep a pen and paper handy because you're going to have some questions for me. And I can promise you, if you put those questions in the comments or if you email them to me at bulletproofhandymanbusiness@gmail.com, I will answer every comment and I will answer every email. And if I don't have the answer, I will find the answer. And along the way, you're also probably going to come up with a lot of really great feature requests that you'd like to see Jobber implement. And I can also promise you that if you place those requests in the comments or email them to me at bulletproofhandymanbusiness@gmail.com, when I see the product engineers and the software developers in Austin this September, I will personally hand your recommendations over to them for them to consider because these are the guys who are in charge of making your recommendations a reality. And now it's time to dive in. But before we do, if you want to follow along with me, you can click up here to get a free trial or go to the description and click the link there. And that'll get you a free 14-day trial that comes with my exclusive discount of 20% off for the first 6 months. So without further ado, let's dive in. All right, guys, so this is your dashboard right here. This is just going to give you a whole lot of basic information about where your business sits right when you click into here. Over here on the left is your most commonly used menus, and then up here in the settings gearbox, this is going to be where you go when you really tweak a lot of the more fine-tuned settings inside Jobber. But the first thing I want you to do is I'm going to talk about what's over here, and I want you to think of Jobber or really any website or any piece of software like this as a database with a wrapper around it to help you navigate the database. So the first thing that you need before you can have a job inside your Jobber software, you have to have a client. We go from clients to properties to requests to quotes to jobs to invoices. So the first thing you need is a client. Let's click over here into clients. And as you can see, what we have here is my database of my clients. Up here in the top right, you can click on new client and that'll take you into the screen to put your new clients in. I do want to point out that you can add custom fields. I have added, for example, client custom field test. You can add your own fields to track your own information to fill up your database about your clients. You can also add the property here. And I want to point out you can add another address. Now, this is going to be for example, landlords or for property managers. They're going to have multiple properties under one client. So the client themselves is going to have their client address, and then all their additional properties are going to go down here. And I want you to notice that you can have property contacts. So this is going to add a contact to that additional property. This would be the tenant that's in that property. So you put all of their info in and you can come down here and give them permissions because they're going to be able to see and do some things within your Jobber software if you allow. And one of the things that you probably don't want for a tenant, for example, is for them to see outstanding quotes or overdue invoices, but you do want them to receive upcoming assessment or visit reminders, and you probably want them to receive job closure follow-ups, but you can customize this yourself. Again, think of this as your database, and this is where you put the data into your database, and this is the page we got here from after we clicked clients right here. So here's your client database. I can open up a random one right here, and it's going to show you lifetime value, current balance, all kinds of stuff that you can attach to these clients. It's going to show all the open jobs, the billing, the payment methods, the client schedule. This is your client database, and this is where you'll track everything about your clients. And then let's click over here into requests. Now, once you have a client and they have properties, you can now make a request on that property for that client. This is your new request button. You can put a request in for your clients, or your clients can click your request button from an external site or from a QR code that you give them or from a link that you send them, and they can fill out their own info. And I'm not going to go into detail, but as you can see, they're able to put in all of the info, such as when they can be contacted. You can also use this block right here for scheduling the assessment when you show up. And if you're going to charge for this assessment, then you can go ahead and document, for example, your labor or your materials. There we go, materials right there. You can add line items for work that you do while you're on site, if you do work on site, right there at the estimate. And then we'll go ahead and cancel out of this, discard changes back into the request. So that was the new request. more actions. See, this is the share or embed right here. And what I want you to see is right over here where you can click on request form. You roll all the way over here to the right to these three dots. Click on those three dots and share links. And inside share links, you can either copy the link and send this link to somebody, or you can copy this embed code. And this is the important part. Embed your form so leads and customers never have to leave your website. If you copy this code, you can place an embedded request button on your website or any other external website, including your Google business profile, by the way, so that your clients or your potential clients can click on your request form, put themselves into your system themselves as a client, and generate their own request. Or if you come down here, for example, if you click on Facebook, that's going to copy to your clipboard a request button, a request embed button for you to place on Facebook. If you come over here and click the one for Instagram, it'll give you one for Instagram. Click the one for Yelp, it'll give you one for Yelp. And then you'll actually have automated attribution so you know where your clicks came from, meaning you know which pathways are actually bringing you the best clients. So let's go ahead and close out of here, and we'll click back into the request form. And up here at the top under more actions, I want you to see there's also a customize form. So you can customize your request form. Again, I'm not going to take you through every detail, but you can customize the form so that it's the form that you want it to be. And that's about everything that I really need to show you about requests. Now let's move on to quotes. You got the request, you decided to go do an assessment, you did your assessment, now you want to write them a quote. Here's your quotes page. You're going to see all of your quotes laid out here in order from draft to awaiting response, all the way down to converted. And I believe between converted and awaiting response would also be your accepted quotes that you haven't converted yet. But the first thing you're going to see, again, this is a database, so here's the database of all your quotes. Up here under more actions, I want you to notice templates. When you build a quote, you can use a template, and you can build a quote by clicking new quote here, or you can click create and then slide on over to quote here. But when you build a new quote, you're going to have the option of using templates or creating templates. And I'm going to show you an example of what a template is. This is my fascia template. So if I get a fascia job and I'm going to do a fascia quote, I'm going to pull up my fascia template and I'm going to add a client real quick. It's going to prompt me for the property. I'll add the property. I'll come up here and put a title. I'll put the tenant contact in, the work order number in. Don't worry about the rest of these. These are mostly custom fields. See where it says add field? You can add fields just like you could to the client and the properties. You can add fields to track a lot of other information. We don't need to dive deep into that, but just know that that's what most of this is fake fields that I've built while teaching other people. Generally, what I'm going to have is tenant contact and work order number. And then you slide down on these quote templates for the fascia. If I open a fascia template, it's going to have this picture up here already. It's going to have this title, it's going to have this description, and it's going to have these three products and services. And this is where the great time savings comes in. Up here, this is to make it pretty and increase your odds of getting accepted. But your actual documentation is down here. So if I was going to do a fascia refinish on a house, I'd go around and I'd measure the number of feet that must be replaced because they're not repairable. And let's say that's 12 feet. So we do 12 times $22 per linear foot gives us a total price for fascia replacement. And then we keep on measuring and we find out that there's an additional 60 feet that needs to be repaired, not replaced, but repaired. It can't just be prepped and painted. It's got to have some repair. And then you measure the rest of it that just needs to be prepped and painted. And let's say there's another 87 feet that needs to be prepped and painted. And now, as you can see, it's pre-populated all the pricing. I've got all the descriptions pre-populated. Come all the way down here, the pricing is already there. All I've got to do is add a discount, add tax, add reviews if I want. The reason you don't see reviews on here is because this is a demo account. But in a regular account, in your account, if you've connected your Google business profile, you'll be able to click on the reviews button and you'll actually be able to add your best Google reviews to this template. So if you have reviews for doing a great job on fascia, you can add them to the template. Or if you just have reviews for at least great job on exterior carpentry work, you can add them to this template, and every client that receives this quote is going to see this entire template. As you can see, I've added attachments. This attachment is supposed to be like a how to care for your fascia going forward into the future document for your client to receive. Other images, if you want to have other images that get attached. A client message, which, by the way, you can edit in line here, or you can edit up here in the settings, and I'll show you that later. Your contractor disclaimer will automatically be here if you have one of those uploaded already. And when you're done, you can just go ahead and save the quote. But I wanted you to see what these templates are because they make really, really beautiful quotes. So let's click back into quotes, make sure we're not missing anything here. These are all your quotes in the order that you have them. There's the new quote, more actions, templates, import quote data. If you're merging over from another CRM, you're going to want to import all of that old data from that CRM, and that's partly where this import quote data is going to come in handy for you. So I think that's everything on the quotes. Like I said, we don't want to spend too much time in every single one of these. You did the quote, maybe it got accepted, maybe you didn't need to do a quote and you just gave them a number on the spot and it's time to do a job. So here's your jobs. Once again, you can click on new job to just go ahead and create a job, and it's pretty simple. It's just like the others. You select your client and then you select your property, assuming they're already pre-populated. I work with property managers, so I already have a bunch of these in there. You've got your title, put your title in. Again, most of these are custom fields over here on the right. I'm usually just doing tenant, contact, and work order number. Down here, one-off or recurring. Well, recurring is going to be like if you're a pool guy or something, and we're going to use pool guys as an example throughout here because they do have a different type of business. For anybody who's got a lot of recurring business at the same properties doing the same thing, you can put your schedule in here, or you can click schedule later, go ahead and assign it out. These are all your team members, and up here you'll notice under this gear icon you have manage teams, so you can add team members over here. But you can assign this out. We'll assign this one to me. How does that sound? Email team about assignment. You can add a checklist. So this is a little list that you have to check off, or things that you have to complete before you mark the job complete. Although the software will allow you to mark it complete, it's still going to prompt you to finish it before you mark it complete. Product and services, these are your line items right here. So this is where you're going to say labor, and you're going to put in a description of your labor, or you can charge by the hour, however you want to do it. Add another line item, and I want you to notice something. You see all of these down here. I built these. These are mine. These are custom line items. So Jobber allows you up here in the settings, and I'll be showing you in a little while, but in the settings, it allows you to create custom line items so that while you're building this out, for example, you can just click on this one. Maybe it's quantity 4. It's already got a description. It's already got a price, and you just go ahead and move on to the next line item. Let's do door stops, DOORS. And there's doorstop, labor, install, $8 each. Maybe there's a quantity 8 of those, and it automatically does the math for you. So that's how those work. Down here at the bottom, you've got your notes. So these are internal, by the way. I want you guys to always remember anything you put in the notes is going to remain internal to your business unless you take steps to make it external, meaning you can put relatively private information in here as long as your tech on the job is not showing the client anything that's on his phone in relation to Jobber. But otherwise, you can put all your internal notes in there. That's how you build your jobs. Now let's go back to the job screen. Yep, discard changes. They're going to show, and now you can change this if you want. You can change any of these, but they're by default going to show late first, requires invoicing second. And by the way, late means that there has been a trip scheduled or a visit scheduled, but nobody has marked it as complete. Requires invoicing means somebody has closed out the entire job, but an invoice has not yet been created. Action required means that you've closed out a trip or a visit because the job, the overall job, could be composed of 3 separate visits by 3 separate people. So you can close out a visit without actually closing out the job. Action required means that you've closed out the visits, but you haven't closed out the job yet, which is what I use to let myself know when I get home that I need to invoice. Anything where this says action required, where I've closed out a visit without closing out the job, I know that those are the ones that I need to go invoice at the end of the day. Then it's going to show your unscheduled. Then it's going to show your scheduled ones in order of how soon they're scheduled. And then finally, the archived. Now, is there anything new we need? Under more actions, we have manage checklist, share online booking, or import jobs. I think those are pretty self-explanatory. We don't need to dive into those. So after the job, what's the next thing that's going to be in our database that we need to manage? Is invoices. Once again, it's going to show your past due invoices first. It's going to show awaiting payment second. It's going to show drafts next, and then it's going to show paid all the way down to the very bottom. These are all of the invoices for your business, including what status they're at. And notice with Jobber, a lot of what this is about is you being able to keep track of your status. We're in invoices right now, but if you click into here, you see what the status is of all of your jobs. If you click into invoices, you see the status of all of your invoices. If you click into clients, you get to see and open and look at the status, for example, how much money they owe you of all your clients. So back into invoices, Let's go to more actions. You can batch create. Now, this is going to be more, again, for your pool guys and stuff who have a lot of repetitive invoices that they're going to be doing. You can also batch deliver, and you can import your invoice data. Is there anything else that I really need y'all to see about invoices? I don't think there is. Even under create new invoices, it's going to look very familiar to you. You're going to select a client, and then instead of selecting a property, it's first going to show you all of the jobs that have been marked as complete that still require invoicing. Remember, we just saw requires invoicing. You can deselect all of these, hit continue, and then now you get to select a property. So this is for if your invoice that you're building is not for one of the jobs that you closed out that requires invoicing, and it doesn't have a job that you're stemming it from, you're just coming in writing a fresh invoice, then you can go ahead and pick your property or create a new property. And that is, yeah, that's about everything y'all need to see about invoices there. So let's pop on down the list. Actually, let's pop up for 1 minute. Let's look at the schedule tab. This is a really important tab. I do one very important thing. Now, of course, on the schedule tab, you can filter it so you can see the schedule by the month. You can see a list instead of a calendar. You can see it on a map, and this is the important one. I do want to show you, before I show you why that's important, look at these filters. You can filter to each of your individual employees, subcontractors, or yourself. You can filter by type, whether it's a task, a visit, a reminder, a request, and you can filter by unscheduled or scheduled or unassigned or assigned or even without property. You can really do supreme filtering all the way across the board. But what I want you to see is this map, because what's going to happen, what I do is when I create my jobs, I just create the jobs and I click unscheduled. I schedule later. And what's going to happen is those are all going to show up like this little guy right here. They're going to show up on this map. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say, oh, look, I happen to have 3 jobs up on the northeast side of town. Let's try to schedule all of those for Wednesday. So I'm not coming over here and then down here and then over here and then up here. I'll schedule those 3 together. So seeing everything on a map, really, really, really useful. So that's all I really wanted to show you in the schedule tab. Otherwise, it's just pretty basic stuff. You can filter and you can see everything that you've scheduled and you can update your scheduling. So now let's pop down to the marketing tab. This is really becoming one of my favorite tabs. And the truth is, I don't market. My business doesn't market, but there's so many amazing things in this tab that are so useful for so much of my audience that I can't help but to dive in and check them out. So I want to show you one that I do actually use, and that's the email campaigns. If you're a subscriber to this channel and you're receiving emails from me every now and then, for example, announcing events that I'm about to do, chances are I actually sent it from this campaigns tab, and you click on create email campaign. And what you're going to be able to do, I'm not going to walk you through the whole process, but what you're going to be able to do is you're going to create a mass email that's going to go out to every single one of your clients, or it's going to go out to everybody that you've selected from your client base. So if you get a little slow one day and you need a little extra work, you can send out a 10% coupon or a little reminder to all of your clients. Everybody in this client's database will receive that email if you want them to, and you can hustle up some extra work real quick. It's a really great one. Next is automate review requests. Now, I don't do this because I don't really, in fact, my actual handyman business, I don't have a Google business profile anymore because I don't want to be found. My business is the right size. I have property managers that I serve. They are an endless river of work, and I'm just not seeking extra work or extra property managers or extra clients. So I don't use this. But what this is going to do is it's going to guide your clients after you close out a job with them. It's going to guide them through the process of leaving you a Google review, and hopefully a good Google review. Because I don't know if you know this, but the number one way people decide who to hire when they need someone to work on their house is personal recommendations from a trusted friend or associate. Number 2 is Google business reviews. So if you can get those Google business reviews up, I know from dozens of guys on this channel that once you hit about 30 or 40 Google business reviews, you never need to advertise again because you're now at the top of the list in whatever city you're in. Every time somebody searches for a handyman or whatever your field is in that city. So automate those Google business reviews. Next is optimize your Google business profile. Not going to dive super deep into this. All this is going to do is it's going to literally what it says, optimize your profile. And it's also going to help you keep busy and keep things posting on there so that Google can see that this is an active profile. Next is create a social post. This actually ties into the Google business profile. It'll connect to your jobs, And when it connects to your jobs, you can select certain jobs, especially if you have really great photos and stuff. And if it was an interesting project, you can select the job, and this software will automatically generate an entire little article about that job that you can then post to Facebook, you can post to your Google business profile, and it just gives you a way to keep your social media feeds and your Google business profile populated. Really good stuff. Finally, here at the bottom, automate a referral campaign. So now you can turn your actual clients into recruiters for you, because you can give them this referral campaign link and they can earn benefits, whether that be financial or otherwise. They can earn from you for referring you out to their friends and family. And Jobber's got the whole system automated here for you to help keep you in business. Next is create a job showcase. The truth is, this is a new one. I don't know anything about this. If you know something about it, please email me or let me know in the comments. Let everybody else know in the comments if you have any opinions on it. But I've never used it, and I'm not going to try to talk to you about things that I've never used or never even looked into. And then finally, probably the biggest one down here at the bottom is this edit website. Let me hide this right there. There we go. Edit website. You don't know this probably, but Jobber gives you a free website at every plan tier too. You can be on the cheapest Jobber plan there is. You click on that edit website. Well, mine says edit. It should say build. Mine says edit because I've already worked with one. But Jobber will build your entire website just based on the information that you give Jobber. And you can come in here and edit anything you want to edit inside this website. And it's all free, guys, just for you. But Jobber does do that. And of course, your booking and your request buttons will automatically be inside this website as well. But that is free for literally everybody. So back into the marketing tab. See if we missed anything. I do not think we did. Let's see, marketing plan. We do have this marketing plan. Now, I haven't used this, but I did get to kind of look at it when it was in beta. And this is essentially going to help you set up your marketing plan, exactly how it sounds. You're going to use this to build out your plan in the long term and to make sure that you're keeping up on your marketing, especially your social media marketing, but just all your marketing in general. So let's move out of marketing and move on to receptionist. And I will tell you, this has got to be my favorite feature Jobber has. I've even built some software at bulletproofhandyman.com. You can go there and click on some software that I have on the tools folder to train your Jobber AI receptionist. She will answer the phone. She will answer questions about your business. She'll create requests. She'll book jobs for you if you have online booking turned on. She'll do basically everything that you need for you. All you have to do is have your calls forwarded to her, or she even has a text line so you can have people texting back and forth with her as well. But this receptionist is outstanding. You get your dashboard here. It tells you how many phone calls you've had. You can access the transcripts of those calls. It tells you how much time it saved for you in terms of number of minutes on the phone. And you can really track everything just from this one spot right here. And then over here is the manage. So this is where you essentially manage how she behaves and how she speaks and how she's used, what she is or isn't allowed to do. This is your manage page right here. But guys, I love the receptionist. By the way, with this button right here, you can test the receptionist. All of y'all get to test her live before you ever have to pay for her, so you can at least see if you like it or not. But I think this is kind of one of Jobber's secret weapons. It's one of my favorite things they've ever built. And next is Pipeline. Now, I'm going to tell you, I have not used Pipeline. I have looked into it. I'm not an expert on it. What I do know about Pipeline is if you're a larger company, let's say you're an HVAC company, you've got 9 vans, 14 technicians, 2 office girls, and a couple managers out there in the field, and you've got a lot of requests coming in, and you've got a lot of leads coming in from a lot of different sources. You're writing a lot of quotes, and you need to track all of that. This is going to be a very visual and understandable way for a really busy office to be able to stay on top of these things. And number one, make sure they don't fall through the cracks and get forgotten completely. And number two, just to make sure that your clients or your potential clients aren't just sitting around waiting to hear from you for days and days just because nobody had a visual indicator in front of them saying, oh yeah, we really need to get back in touch with this client. So next, moving on to Insights. Insights is what it sounds like. It's a big overview of your business. It just kind of shows you the health of everything. It's comparing last year to this year, last month to this month. You can filter and move everything around in a lot of different ways, but this is just quick insights about your business, just not to the depth of the reports. And then the next tab we'll click into is the reports. Now, I'm not going to open all of these up, but as you can see, if you read through them while I'm talking, you can really pull reports on just about every single thing that you would ever want to know or get a report on about your business. All you got to do is come in here and open up the report and then click export CSV or export report. You can email it to yourself, to your accountant, or anybody else who needs it. But these are all your reports here. Next, we'll click into expenses. There's not a whole lot to see in expenses, but what you need to know is if you or one of your workers are out on the job somewhere and maybe one of y'all just has to go buy something with cash in your pocket real quick at the local Ace Hardware instead of using the company card. You click on new expense. You can upload a picture of that new expense right there. Or you can come over here and click fill in details manually, and you can actually fill in all the details of the expense. And what I want you to see is you can search jobs. So if you were working on job number 39, 3450 North Stone Avenue, running toilet, if that's what you were working on and that's what you spent the money on, you click that. Now the expense is tied to the job. And then the same thing with who actually gets reimbursed. Reimbursed to, let's say, Paul Stamets, the landscaper, and then save expense. Well, I'm not going to fill all of that out, but you get the point here. You get to save all your expenses there and track them so that way you can make sure that your employees, your subcontractors, or you personally gets paid back for those expenses. Next is timesheets. Remember up here, we have manage team because you can have multiple team members with access to your jobber account. So your team members can clock in and clock out. So for example, Linda White, we can clock her in right now, fill in all the information and click start, and Linda White is clocked in. She can clock out. This is your timesheets. You can approve the timesheets at the end of the week by logging into here. If anybody has completed timesheets, you'll open them up, verify the hours, and confirm. And then finally, you have confirm payroll. So once you've transferred that into whatever payroll system you use, for example, QuickBooks, Jobber integrates with QuickBooks. So all of this can integrate directly over into your QuickBooks account. And then when you get that payroll confirmed over there, you can come over here and confirm it as actually paid. We're going to skip community and we're going to skip apps. Those are not necessary for you to know how the software works. And next, we're going to come up here and I'm going to show you in the top right hand. Well, actually, let's come home first. And I do want you to see from the home screen, you can click create and quickly, instead of coming into here, you can always click create to create a client request, quote, job, or invoice. That's just a really quick access. Over here, we have these 3 stars. This is your Jobber AI. You can ask this AI questions about how to use the Jobber platform, and you can ask this AI questions about your specific business. So for example, you can say, hey, how do I start a custom email campaign? Ray said something about it, but I can't remember. You can ask that question here. It'll give you links to actually go straight there. It'll give you links to articles that you can read for more in-depth information about it, and it'll just answer your question. Or you can ask it something like, hey, what was my total revenue last year? Or what was my total revenue in October of last year? Or you can say something like, what does my total revenue for October of this year look like compared to my revenue in October last year? Any question you want to ask about your business, you can ask Jobber right here. And by the way, it's also a coach, so you can just say, hey, how do I get more work? What kind of marketing can I do to get more work? And it will tell you what you can do to get more work or to appear more professional or to achieve whatever business goal it is you're trying to achieve. So let's close out of here. And now we're finally going to go into the settings. This is where a lot of the fun actually is. I'm going to try to keep going fast here. So first, let's come into Manage Team. This is pretty simple. It's going to list all of your team members here. You can click into them and you can edit stuff inside there. But if you're not doing that, you want to add a new team member, you can click Add User, put all of their information in. And this is the important part here. You see these permission levels. You have worker, limited, worker, dispatcher, manager, and custom. So you can click on some of these, and then these down here will change depending on what you click up here. Or you can click custom and you can say, okay, look, I want this guy to be able to edit his own schedule. I want him to be able to view, record, and edit everyone's time tracking and timesheets. However, I don't want him to view and edit all notes. I only want him to view notes on jobs and visits only. You can set all the permissions you want to set for everybody in here. So everybody with access to your account is only accessing what you want them to access. And that's the most important thing that you need to see inside these new users. So this is your team. This is where you manage them at. Let's click back into here and go into actual settings. So the first setting is going to be company settings. There's nothing special to see here. This is the main information about your company, just your business hours, your name, your tax ID, etc. After that's going to be business profile. This is where you're going to dive a little deeper and you're going to describe your business, your about, your policies, your services. Agree to let Jobber use AI to generate things for you like campaigns and stuff, your legal information like your terms and conditions, your privacy policy, change out your logo, change your brand colors. I do want to show you inside client document settings. Under this edit settings, I want you to notice you've got quotes, jobs, invoices, and style. So if you want to change the style, let's say you want to print one out that you're going to be able to fold up and put in a number 10 dual window envelope. Then you choose this style, and every one of them that you print up is going to fit in that type of envelope so you can mail it out. Or you can do compact, or you can do number 10 envelope single window. And then you've got header style, modern or clean, logo size. We can make a large logo. You can change the color. Let's change this one to green, and footer font size to 6. You could say don't show company name, don't show company email, or do whatever you prefer, and then preview PDF. And you can see what that's actually going to look like. And if you don't like the way it looks, then you can come back in here and you can keep editing that. And you can also edit what it does and doesn't show on invoices, quotes, and jobs, all alike. Save changes when you're done. Preview PDF is right there if you want to look at it as you're going through the process. Close that out. You can connect your social networks down here. Backup products and services. Remember I showed you those custom line items. Those are the products and services. That's what all of these are. So every one of these, let's filter to 100 per page, and let's skip forward a whole bunch of pages. We'll just go randomly deep into here, and I'll show you one of the ones that I have here. So how about no, let's go a little deeper. Labor, comma, replace exterior doorknob, comma, labor, comma, replace exterior doorknob, / lever or handle. Open this guy up. It's got the description for what this job entails. It's got a unit price attached to it. It's got all the information you need to know about it down here at the bottom. You can add it to allow online booking or not allow online booking, and then click that update button, and you're all said and done. I have, as you can see, 1,911 of these. And I want you guys to know, if you go to bulletproofhandyman.com, go to the rate book. The rate book is going to have at least 850 individual tasks that a homeowner or a property manager might someday ask you as a handyman to do on one of their properties. And you can go in there to any of those tasks. And by the way, you can add new tasks, or you can pick the tasks that I've already put in there. They're all hierarchy down from like labor, doors and windows, doors, exterior door strike plate, adjust, right? So all the way down that hierarchy to that job, and then you put your description and your price in for that job, or you do my online hourly rate calculator, and it tells you how much to charge per hour based on your business, and then you tell it how many minutes you need for the job, and it will calculate for you what you need to charge for that job. And then you can export that entire rate book. That's what you're seeing right here. This is my rate book export from my website. So you can export that entire rate book out of my website and into your Jobber account, so that when you're doing these quotes and these estimates and these jobs, you're able to just go in there and click on something and give it a quantity and move on to the next line item, instead of having to type everything out by hand and think up all the information and all the disclaimers that you want to have every single time. You just do a quick search. You just type in like TOIL, and boom, toilet pops up. Click the one that you want to click, add the quantity, move on to the next line item. That's what these are. And then down here at the bottom, when you go to import those, let's say you do download mine and you use them. If you want to import them, you come right here to import CSV, select CSV file, and then you'll pick that file from in here where you just downloaded it, upload it into your Jobber account, and you'll have all of these already in your Jobber account to save you tons of time. So let's scroll back up. Where are we at now? Custom fields. Remember I told you on the jobs and the quotes over in the top right, I said, don't worry about these. These are custom fields. This is where you create your custom fields. Long story short, a field is just a place to host a piece of information in the database attached to whatever it's attached to. So a client custom field is going to hold custom information in your database about that client. Property custom field is going to hold that information for the property. Quote's going to hold it for the property. I do want to show you right here. Let's click add field. So if we're adding a new custom field from the quote level, you see this transferable field button. If you don't click this, then this field will only exist on every single quote. Every quote will give you a spot to click something or answer a question on or add to the database on. If you click transferable field, then it'll start at the quote level and you can put it in there at the quote level. And then as that quote becomes a job, the field will transfer to the job. As the job becomes an invoice, the field will transfer over to the invoice. So it'll follow you all the way through. A good example is the work order numbers. I want the work order number at least starting at the quote level and then transferring to the job level and then transferring to the invoice level, because then when my property managers receive that invoice, it has that original work order number on it, which they do want from me. And that's basically everything you need to know about custom fields. I do have some videos on them in the past if you want to go dig that up and take a look at that. Next is jobber payments. I can't show you a lot for jobber payments on here, but luckily there isn't a lot to know. All you need to know is that you can connect up jobber payments to your bank account so that when you send these invoices, people can pay securely online and that money goes directly from them paying online into your account, and that's how you get paid. There is a small percentage that they charge. This is just what Visa and MasterCard and everybody else charges. This is what Stripe charges. This isn't something that's unique to Jobber. Everybody has some small 1 to 3% that they charge for credit card or debit card processing. Jobber's the same way here, but you can connect your bank account and everybody can pay you right from the Jobber account instead of you having to go get like a Square reader and connect it up to your phone and do all of that. They can just pay securely online. Next, expense tracking. I already showed you this. This is where you can add those expenses while you're on the job. The only thing you're going to do inside this expense tracking page is add your accounting code. So if you want to add a new code, can you just say gas as a code? Yeah, you can. Look at that. You don't even need to use an actual code. You can just say gasoline. So moving on to automations. Automations are absolutely amazing. There's three main ones. Jobber has tons, but there's three main ones for you to see right here. Quotes. If you send a quote to somebody and they don't reply back, in this particular scenario, follow up with clients 7 days after quotes are sent, follow up with clients 4 days after quotes are sent, or auto archive quotes. The point here is if somebody doesn't approve or deny the quote or counter the quote, if they just simply receive it and nothing happens, this can be set up to automatically remind them on a scheduled basis that they still need to approve or deny that quote. Same with invoices. If the invoice doesn't get paid within a certain amount of time, it'll send out a reminder to pay the invoice up to twice. And then the same thing with requests. It can auto archive those for you. So that's all there is to see here. Next, account connections. You can connect your account right now to Google Business Profile and your Facebook business page. I do believe there are more coming, but these are the two that you can connect your entire Jobber account to, and all kinds of amazing, great things that Jobber does is going to tie into these and use these. So it's optional for you if you want to connect it, but you'll get more out of Jobber if you do connect it as they continue to add these features for connecting a lot of things you're doing in Jobber, especially marketing with those external accounts. Next, team organization. We've got the manage team page, but what you'll see here is this is the exact same page we were already on. So I don't need to show you anything new here. Work settings. This is a pretty good one. So you can turn this reminder on and off for your quotes. But the important thing here, I think, for me, is these default arrival windows. Nobody really uses these enough. But guys, when you schedule jobs, don't schedule 9 a.m. Schedule arrival between 9 and 10 a.m. and then come in here and set this up. So if your target, let's say your target is 9 a.m., right? But it's in the middle of the day, maybe the job before it'll finish up early, and you don't want to sit in a parking lot forever just waiting. So you can come in here and say, hey, you know what? We're going to start scheduling on 1 hour windows, and then I want to add the window after the start time, or I want to center the window on the start time. So if your goal is 9, then this will set your actual window from 8:30 to 9:30 for your arrival. So if you're early, you're early. If you're late, you're not actually late because you still arrived within your window. And then down here at the bottom, you're going to have your net. This is where you get to decide what your payment terms are. For example, for me, I work for property managers, and their payment terms are net 30, which means mine needs to be net 30. I can't be sending them invoices that say due within 72 hours or due within 7 days if I already signed on with them with the understanding that they're net 30. So this is where you come and decide actually what your net is. Mine is defaulted to net 30 already. You can choose yours. And none of this other stuff is super important other than maybe chemical tracking. Again, if you're a pool guy, you might want to be tracking the chemicals you use. And some other career fields are, of course, going to use chemicals that you want to track. The pool guys really have the worst of them, though. So back up here at the top, let's move on to schedule. Yes, we'll go ahead and leave this page. Moving on to schedule. You can set your company business hours and your working hours, but specifically working hours for your team. So what you're going to get to do here is it's going to take you back into your managed team, but you can open up your team and you can say that this particular team member, maybe they have like a, I don't know, they're part of a local football club and they have football practice every Thursday starting at lunchtime. So you can adjust their hours. That way, if you're doing online booking, it won't automatically book them during hours that they're not going to be working. So you can put all your teammates' hours in here. Let's pop back to where we were. These calendar colors are neat because you can assign a calendar color to two things. Let's assign a color real quick. You can assign a color when the title contains something in particular. So let's say the word urgent. You can attach the color red to any time the title says urgent, and then you make sure that your policy is to write the word urgent in the title when it's urgent, and now it'll have that red color. Now, where are you going to see that red color? Up here in the schedule. Remember, I showed you that map where you can see all your jobs. Those will be color coded. Or you can say when assigned to a specific team member, so each different team member can have a different color as well. Let's go ahead and cancel out of that. You can sync your Google Calendar, your Apple Calendar, whatever calendar you use. You can sync that up here. Location services, you can turn on and off per user, by the way. Up in Manage Team, you can turn location services on and off per user. I do believe on their phone, they will have to accept that as well. And then what it'll do is it's going to build a geofence around every property. So you schedule a job for 1234 Main Street. When you pull up to 1234 Main Street, one of two things will happen. Either if you have this one selected, it'll automatically track the time that you're there, and it'll shut that tracking down when you leave, or it'll at least give you reminders to track your own time while you're there. Next, route optimization. Once again, this is kind of a pool guy kind of thing, but let's say you are a pool guy and you have a route all over town for Wednesdays, and now you get a new client for Wednesdays. They want to be on your Wednesday schedule. They're a new client. Now you got to figure out where to set them into your route. You can come in here and you can add them to your route. You don't have to know where it's going to be. You just add them. And then over here, when you tell it to go ahead and optimize, it's going to re-optimize your entire day to make sure that new client gets fit in just the right way so that by the time your day is all said and done, you have the most efficient route possible. This is actually really technically hard to pull off a good route optimizer like this. So good on Jobber for doing this. Next is checklist. I really like the checklist. So what this is, I'm going to give you this kitchen sink one as an example. When I send somebody to a job where they're working on a kitchen sink, I'm going to attach this kitchen sink checklist. And they're going to have to check off that they repaired the leak, thoroughly cleaned and dried the area above and below, filled both basins with water, with plugs, pulled plugs and ran the disposal while everything was draining, and then felt and looked underneath at all the pipes to make sure there was no leaks. The whole point of this is you'll send somebody out on a job, they'll mess with, let's say, a garbage disposal, just breaking it free and getting it working again, and then the next day you get a call from the tenant or the homeowner saying, hey, now there's a leak under my sink because your guy dislodged one of my pipes and he didn't notice. So you attach this to every job where you want them to check that. You can also have them set up so that the client has to sign. Your tech can't close out this checklist until the client signs saying that they're happy. So you can actually have a generic one that you attach to every single job if you want to. Let's go ahead and back on out of this. Next, client communication. You've got your client hub here. So your clients have their own hub into your Jobber account, which, by the way, provides a really great air of professionalism, because if they have more than one job, like a commercial or a residential property manager or a realtor who's got you on multiple things, if they have more than one job, they can come look at all of their jobs, but they can only see what you toggle on and off for them to see. Quote approvals, whether or not they're allowed to request changes, all kinds of stuff. And this is where they're going to do that at. So this is their, oh, by the way, this is the link if you need to give it to them for their login page. If they lose it, you can copy that from down here. But this is the client hub. We're almost done here, guys. Emails and text messages. This is also a super, super important part of Jobber. These emails and text messages, I'm going to go through here and read all of these to you, because what I want you to know is every time that you're automating or personally sending a text message or an email through the Jobber platform to one of your clients, that specific messaging is going to be on a template, and you can edit it in line before you send it, or you can come here in the settings and you can edit the template itself, and you can do that for submitted requests, booking confirmations, declining work. So if you want to decline a request, assessment reminders, checklists, new quotes, quote approvals, booking confirmation, visit rescheduling notifications, visit reminders, checklists, chemical treatment, job follow-up, new invoices, payments and deposit receipts, statements, requesting a payment on file, and sending signed documents. That is a lot. All of these you get to go in, and this is part of your branding, guys. You need to have a personality that comes along with your business, whether that's a friendly personality, a professional personality, a silly personality, whatever that personality is. You want to have that personality come through in your messaging to your clients. So you don't want the most generic messages. You want to come in here and you want to say, let's do a new quote, edit. It says, we understand that you have many options, and we want you to know that we appreciate the opportunity to earn your business. That's kind of generic. You can put whatever you want to put in here and save it. And then now every time you send a quote, it's going to come with that message. So this is a really important page, and that's what all of this page is. Next is finally requests and bookings. Now, if you'll remember, this is where you take this request form, come over here and click these three dots, click on share links, and this is where you get that embed code. I'm showing you this because you're going to want to put this on your website, so I want you to remember where to find it. Copy that code, drop it into your website, and now your request button is actually inside your website. You can manage your checklist from here, and you can manage your availability from here. There's not much else that you really need to know to do in here, but here's the cool thing. That's the entire Jobber app. You really just saw basically a breakdown of everything that this thing can do for you. As you can see, it's a lot. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to be seeing the product managers and the software engineers in Austin in September. And I'm going to be bringing all of your recommendations to them. And I'm also hopefully going to get to see behind the scenes a lot of the stuff they're working on here. But the bigger point is I get to communicate with them frequently. And something I'll tell you about Jobber, when it comes to AI, they are the tip of the spear. Believe it or not, they are working on the craziest AI projects you could imagine, more than what you think a corporation would allow its product managers and engineers to work on without going through a bunch of committees. They're really able to be creative, imagine what they would like to do with the platform, which is why they need the feedback from you, and then go try to make that happen. And all of those are going to be falling into here. They already are. Every time I get on this platform, something has changed, something's been added, and something's been improved because they're working so fast making this happen. Now, the last thing I want to close out with, well, first of all, let's do a reminder. I'll put another link up here for you to click if you want to get a free trial of Jobber that comes with my exclusive discount of 20% off for the first 6 months. But also, I just want to remind you that anything you email me, I will reply to. Anything you comment, I will reply to. Any problem you need help solving, I will help you solve related with the Jobber platform. And I want to make you an additional promise, which is that if you have any issues with Jobber that Jobber customer service can't help you out with, where you seem to feel stuck, get in touch with me and I'll help you figure it out. There isn't much about this platform I don't know, so let me know. And if I can't solve it, I will literally reach out to my engineers and my product managers that I've gotten to know over the years over there, and I will make sure we get your problem solved. That's just a direct promise between me and you. So with all that being said, I love you guys. I hope you're out there killing it, and I'll see y'all on the next one.